from what I can recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, the majority of the raptors that you've been working with over the past few years have actually come from Lycoming County, including, if many of you recall, just a little over a year ago, she was the person who was very instrumental in the rescue and release of a peregrine falcon that was injured down on the 220 bypass in Midtown back in January. That was a bird that turned out to be a banded bird and had come from Maryland. Unfortunately, she was able to obtain the bird and care for it, and we were able to release it a week later, courtesy of the Game Commission. Barn owls, screech owls, red-tailed hawks, great horned owls. I should mention that Kristina actually essentially had taken over the rehabilitation work from Ed and Tink Reich when they retired from that. And so I applaud her for stepping up to the plate and doing something that's very difficult and very expensive to do. And without further ado, I'm going to turn over the program to you, Kristina. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kristina Franklin. I'm not used to microphones. I'm usually private and very quiet. It's usually like a library where I am. So I'm used to being a very quiet person and a withdrawn person. My sister calls me antisocial, which is fine with me. And I have some good news and some bad news. Of course, apparently bad news has been kind of the click here for tonight, but we've been losing rehabilitators left and right, and it's due to a lot of financial problems. And our center is in dire straits. It's getting ready to close down. We're only bringing in probably about $2,500 to $2,800 a year, and that's nothing. My sister was gracious enough to donate 500 mice to me, and that's what's gotten us through for quite a while. And unfortunately, the place came with a mortgage, and we were dealing with it, and it's just got to the point of where it's just getting more and more expensive. And I put a plea out, and it's, I want to put it in the paper, but I put a plea out to you that, and I have a woman doing this. She's done this for 8 years, and I'm a 501c3 nonprofit organization, which means I'm tax deductible. Everything that you give me, you can get back. And we're asking if you know, or if anybody would donate $100 a month, commit themselves, and it would ultimately be saved. I cover 8 counties, and that's a big area. And I know that where you guys come from, it seems like a long way away where I am. But, however, I always say this to the person: what takes you guys 3 hours out of your day to save a bird or an animal takes me probably about a good month or 2 to get it back on its feet, depending on the animal. They have different dispositions just like anybody else. So I put a plea out there for it. I used to be quite shy about it, but I want to save these animals. And I'll give you an example. This is the good news. We had a mute swan, which a lot of people don't look at a mute swan as something really that big, but when it comes through my door, it's a big deal. It's a beautiful, beautiful bird. And it had ran into an electric fence and shocked itself. And it couldn't stand up and was dying and from the shock. And usually when we do get an animal in, anything that it goes through, the peregrine falcon, the barn owls, anything that comes through my area, through my door, is in shock. And that's what we take care of. We're the hospital, we're the doctors. were the nurses, were the siblings, were the mom, were everything to them. And the swan, I can graciously say that when it came to me, it would flop on its side and couldn't get up, and it was just neurologically in shock. And Sunday it stood up and looked around, and all of a sudden it tried to honk. Well, now it's honking, and it's honking for its sibling that's up in, this bird happened to come from Cameron County. That's how far I cover. I cover all the way up to the New York border and all the way down to our Lycoming area. And it's my pleasure to take these birds in and do what I can do for them and be a hospital for them. This swan would have died. It happened to come to me right before that snowstorm, and it would have never made it. It would have never made it. It would have died. It would have laid there in shock and just starved to death and died, because people don't know what to do with them. And game commissioners, they're there for the law, they're not there for the hospital part. And we are not funded in any way by the Game Commission, which has its good points. They can't tell us what to do. And they can tell us what to do to a point, but we have some protocols where they can't take something, we can. And so they have been working with me by bringing me animals and bringing me birds in. And I apologize, I don't have any brochures. I had a volunteer that, my volunteers come and go, and she was like, I'll be there for you. I'm going to be right there for you. And I said, I need brochures about 2 months ago, and I haven't seen her since. And she won't answer her phone, and she's not answering at work. So I apologize for not having any brochures. I'm out of ink. So my money goes to the animal, not to the ink comes secondary. And so I've been tubing the swan, and it's honking now, and we're doing therapy on it. And we're trying to get it to walk around without, it'll take a couple steps and then it just go down, because it's working on itself, We assist them, and they do a wonderful, wonderful job at healing. I am surprised at what they go through, and what they endure, and what their body puts up with, and the outcome of them is amazing. I do have 2 owls with me tonight. That's my little surprise. I have a red-faced screech owl and a gray-faced screech owl. And the gray-faced screech owl has 1 eye. And it can be released still with 1 eye, as long as it makes its targets and it knows what food is. The other one has an eye that is blinded, but we're not quite sure. You're not quite sure what all it can see and what it can't see. So it's not making its targets quite yet, but Harry Stackhouse is the one that brought me the red-faced screech owl. And we've had them for a couple months. I can't release them until it's nice weather. They need to be able to hunt, and with 12 inches of snow on the ground, that's, pretty impossible for a newbie that has just gotten out to try its hand at hunting. I want to make it easier for them. And I'll put them out for you after the slideshow so that you can see them and see the different phases. And they're both adults. A lot of people think that they're baby great horned owls, but they're not. They all got tufts, as you probably know. They got tufts just like a great horned owl. But I used the one on my last program, and there were some kids there, and I showed them the ears, and they were just really fascinated at where the ears were, right behind the eye, and it's just a hole. But they can hear immaculately. Birds are really, really good at hearing. But I'm going to go through a slideshow. It's not going to take that long. We left it in the car and the window was down and it rained. And I was able to save most of them, but some of them, you know, I didn't get to save, but I tried to shorten it up so that it doesn't take too long, and that way I can show you the owls. So I'll go through we'll set this up the best we can, and we'll go through them, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. And if they don't make sense, it's probably because there's a lab in there that one of them didn't make it.